Hi, how are you? I hope you're well. I feel great this week. I have a lot to do and I am busy and I'm thinking, how am I not more stressed? Because I'm organizing workshop, the podcast, I have interviews, the whole coaching thing. And then I have family birthdays. I have two birthdays coming up. Bruce is 60 and then my youngest is 21. So there's a lot to organize there. And I just feel I can feel the anxiety coming up a bit because I'm like, there's so much to do. And then I remember, no, it's okay. It's fine. It's all good. And I wanted to share this with you because I do remember when I was at the top of my burnout, how I just felt like I was in this time trap I had created for myself. It was like, what was it Marie Foley said the other day? It's like a toxic treadmill that we have created where we just add more and more things and we feel more and more burned out, but we can't see a way out. It's like you can't you can't see a way out. You can't possibly do anything less. And there's two things to this. One is we need to be super aware of that subconscious program we have about what we think we should do. So this to-do list that we keep adding on to. So physically, we keep adding things on, like if visitors come, my house needs to look like this. In the clinic, I need to write these like very long, detailed notes, and I need to do this X, Y, and Z before things are perfect. All the things that we just think are facts, that this is how much time we should spend on things, and this is how many things we should do. So there's a whole part of this, and I talked about it before. But actually, the most exhaustion, the most burnout doesn't actually come as much from the things you have in front of you, the list you have to do. It's all the thoughts we're having in our brains about all the things we did or didn't do, about the things we have to do or will have to do or will have to arrange. And then in the now, when we are thinking about everything else we should be doing. So there's kind of, and I've spoken about this before, there are three timelines going in our brain constantly. So the brain is thinking about the past, is thinking about things that should have been, things that should have been different, things you shouldn't have done, things other people shouldn't have done for you. And the brain thinks it's very important to keep remembering this. We need to keep remembering this because whatever happened in the past is what's going to help us in the now and in the future. You need to remember all this experience because it is really important. So, for example, in the past, if you went out and you ate some toxic nuts and then you got a really bad stomach ache, your brain will want to remind you of that so you don't do that again and end up dying, poisoned. But it does that with everything because our brain cannot distinguish between what's important and what's not. Anything that would have caused you a bit of anxiety in the past, your brain is going to want you to remember that and keep bringing it up and keep like just banging you with thoughts about it because it thinks it's important that you remember to secure your survival in the now and in the future. So that's one thing our brain spends a lot of time doing, and a lot of time, if we take it into relation with the time management, it's like, oh shit, I should have done that, or why didn't I prepare that, or why didn't I arrange that back then? All the things you should have done and you didn't. And then brain is also very, very, very preoccupied with the future. It loves to worry. It loves to worry about, are we going to have time for this? Are we going to have money for this? Are people going to be happy with what I'm doing? Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? It feels very productive to worry about the future. It feels very like we're doing something. I remember when I was in my coaching school and I heard a coaching of a mom of this policewoman. And the mom was just so worried that her daughter might be killed doing her job because obviously she's in the States. So yeah, it's possible that you might be shot one day if you're a police officer. But she just spent so much time worrying about it. And to her, it felt like she was almost like protecting her daughter by worrying and try to anticipate everything that could go wrong. And it was also almost like we feel sad and upset up front, thinking that then when the bad thing happens, then we're not going to feel so bad, which is silly, right? Because if your daughter gets shot, of course, you're going to be just as upset as if you hadn't worried about it before. But our brain thinks that about everything. So if you're worried about, will I have time for this? Will I have time for that? and I need to arrange that in the future. And next month I need to pay my taxes. And you know how your brain is just constantly thinking about things that it's not something you can sit and do right now. It's not like, oh, I need to send Bruce a text to tell him to put the pasta on that I could do here now. No, it's more things in the future that I can't do anything about right now, that the brain is just like going over and over and over and over. And we think about it so many times, but we actually don't do the thing because it's not time to do the thing yet. And also worry about worst case scenarios, right? Like what is the worst thing that can happen? And then we don't actually then take it to the extreme, which is what I would do during a session. So if a client comes and say, oh, but what if then I can't pay my rent? I'm like, oh, so, okay, so what? So I'm gonna lose my house. Okay, so what? I'll have to move back into my parents. And so what, and then it's actually, well, we're not going to die. It's just going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to be nice. But brain thinks we're all going to die if we can't pay the rent this month. And it's like that with many things. So you have all these like uncertainty in the future that your brain would like to control, but it can't. And so you're burning your brain out with that as well. So you have like all the things that happened in the past that shouldn't have happened. People shouldn't have done this to you. You shouldn't have done that, and so on. And then there's all the worries in the future, everything you don't have control over, everything you can't do anything about right now anyway. Your brain is trying to control and anticipate. And then you have the now. And if we could be truly in the now, like the Buddhists, they just sit and enjoy and watch the birds and the flowers and whatever, that would be amazing. But our brains really struggle to just be in the now because even at the start of the day, your brain doesn't go, okay, next thing is I'm going to make breakfast and then stops there. It will be, I'm going to make breakfast. While I do breakfast, maybe I need to check the news because what if something has changed? I need to check the traffic because I need to drive there and so on and so on. And it starts like planning the day and starts anticipating all these things you have to do. So even if you're literally just sitting on the loo, waiting to go to have a shower and go out and have breakfast, your brain is already, it feels like you're already doing all these other things, like looking at the news and driving to work, and you need to put petrol on, and then you need to put the shopping bags in the car. Like you need all these things that you're actually not doing right now. It feels like you're doing them because your brain is so busy trying to plan it all, right? And it makes sense that we do a bit of preparation. You have some sort of plan for your day, but our brain exaggerates it a lot. Like it really, really wants to know everything that happens. And then it wants to think then, okay, so if I'm driving to work and if that road is closed, then I could potentially take this other one. So it's like the branch of a tree, right? Your brain wants to follow all the branches and anything that could happen and kind of anticipate what you can do if this potentially happens. And like what was I can't remember the author that said it. What's his name? I can't remember the author that said, a very, very, very important British author said, like, I worry all the time, and most of my worries never actually happen. It was something along those lines. I'm butchering that line, and I feel terrible that I can't remember who said it right now. Somebody could potentially comment on this, but it is so true that our brain is just like so busy anticipating the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, and trying to branch out in the whole day in front of you. And at the same time, as I've talked about before, our brain is very busy wanting to control what other people do or don't do. So, everybody doing the thing I want them to do at home, is my husband putting the toilet down? Is my daughter putting her toothbrush in the place she should? Has she done her homework? Are all the other drivers driving as they should, like, and according to my manual for other drivers? And at work, are people, doing what I want them to do? And other clients, are they all insured? Like our brain is so busy trying to control other people. I feel like I'm telling you all this and I'm talking fast and I'm hardly breathing, but that's because when I think like this, I get stressed and anxious just thinking about it because that used to be my old pattern of working. So brain in the past, brain worried about the future, and brain also here and now trying to control everything that could potentially happen and how other people are so I can make sure everything works and I can please everybody. That is what creates burnout. And that is where all our time goes. We actually have much more time free than we think. But because in our brains, even when you are literally sitting on the toilet and you're not doing anything else, even if you're on your phone, you're really like planning and doing and this in your head, but it's actually not happening. You're sitting down. There's nobody there to tell you to do anything while you're sitting on the loo, right? I'm giving that example because it's ridiculous to think that you can do anything but being on the loo when you're on the loo, right? But our brains, it feels like we're doing three different things at the same time because your brain is working at three different timelines at the same time. And that's why as well, like we tend to, when we're on this energy, and you must have noticed me starting to speak faster and faster, just talking about that. Actually, I'm going to take a deep breath just to slow myself down. Because when I do this, when my brain starts coming up with all these ideas and wanting to explain and go really quick, that is how our brains work, and that is how they tire themselves out. And I've just done a live demonstration for you here how it works. And you need to be super conscious about this because otherwise you just go into this inner programming, you just on autopilot and you're firing on all cylinders. You burning the candle from every end possible, but it's all in your head more than anything. And I know this as well because when I have had a really busy night shift, or when I have had a day where I have accomplished a ton, when I've recorded podcast, I've done this, I've food prepped, I feel different tired at the end of the day than if I've been stressing about it. Like you can feel tired, like oh, I just want to like eat now and sit down and not do anything, and but you sleep well because you're good tired because you've done a lot of stuff, you accomplished a lot, but it's not the same as being stressed in your head. And when we're stressed in your head, one of the things you'll notice is like me now, breathing very superficially, talking very fast, gesticulating fast, saying a lot of fast things like, I just quickly need to, I just quickly need to do this. I don't have time for that. I'll see if I have time. I'm just stressed right now. I just got a lot going on right now. I'm very overwhelmed right now. Like you will say a lot of things that kind of describes this being in the fast lane constantly. And that is one of the ways you can catch yourself doing it. So speaking really fast, noticing you're moving fast, noticing as well as stumbling. So I used to like fall over stuff, like knocking glasses over because you're trying to move faster than you physically can because your brain is so accelerated. And I start talking backwards as well. I will literally mix words. So it sounds like I'm talking in a dyslexic way, if that makes sense. If I'm really stressed, you will notice they're not sleeping. You will notice using those words like, using stress, using busy, using just quickly do this, like I'll just quickly, all those words. And when you're doing that, you're on the way to burnout and you need to calm down. You need to calm yourself down. You need to take some deep breaths. You need to force yourself to speak slower and to pause, which I really have to do because my brain will go into that default. I have been on that autopilot for so many years that that is my default, and I will tend to break into it if I don't notice and if I'm not aware of myself. So I really practice that self-consciousness, that coming back to myself, breathing. Bruce notices it and he will say, "You're starting to talk faster now." And I'm like, "Okay, true. Why am I doing this? What's happening? What is stressing me out?" And again, coming back to journaling as well, right? Like journaling, writing my thoughts down, what is stressing me? What is it I'm thinking that I need to do as well? That is another thing you will notice when you are in this state is I need to, I have to, I should, I shall. Very, very stressful words, very pressurized sentences that would just like make you feel even heavier and like get your shoulders further up towards your ears. Another sign that you are in this living in these three timelines is your shoulders up, so relaxing your shoulders, noticing relaxing your stomach, that knot in your stomach. Deep breath so you can open up your throat, slow down, pause, take a minute, be aware of your thoughts, be aware when you're in it, because that is what will burn you out. And that is what will make you sick in the end because you're not sleeping, you're not resting, you're not eating properly, you're not even chewing properly, you're not getting the nutrients you need because you're going so fast, you're accelerating in life. And that's what you need to know. You need to notice it. And I also want to say that the lack of pause, the lack of taking breaks, the lack of just sitting down and doing nothing is a huge lack of self-respect and self-love because you're putting yourself last. You're putting yourself behind all those little tasks that are really not that important. It is really not that important if you hoover today. It is really not that important to answer some emails to inconsequential people that if they really want to get hold of you, they can either turn up or they can grab the phone and call you. You have to notice when you're in this state because you need to respect yourself and you need to love yourself enough and take care of yourself that you come first, that you put the oxygen mask on yourself first and you give yourself time to live, time to exist without having to produce. And I know we're in a capitalist world, and especially now in the veterinary world where so many corporates are taking over and everything is about numbers in a lot of places, you need to make sure that you don't turn yourself into another little clog in the system. Okay, so this episode comes at you with a lot of love, with a lot of awareness of I know what's going on inside me when this happens, and I want you to notice when it happens for you, so you don't have to run around say, "Oh, I haven't got any time. I'm so busy. Time is just happening so fast, and I don't have time for everything." It is inside you, and it starts with that self-respect for pausing and breathing and not run on autopilot. I hope you like this episode. If you do, please subscribe. And if I would love for you to write a review if you're listening on Spotify or on Apple or any other of the just audio podcast. If you're watching me on YouTube, please leave a comment. I love your feedback and it helps me so much and it gets us more exposure so other people that need to hear this can hear it. So please share with your friends as well. If you think there's anybody that's living an accelerated life in 3 timelines at the same time, send it to them so they can be aware. All right. Take care. Bye.